Hello, everybody, and welcome back to our third game here of the day, where Cloud9 Academy will look to make some short work of their opponents in FlyQuest Academy.
Cloud9 was on a 6-game winning streak. They beat TSM, the first place team, but it got broken by Thieves out of all teams, who we just saw take a loss to TSM. So the standings and the way that these teams beat each other is all jumbled up. But the way that the fight broke out was actually Cloud9 doing their classic fudge, split pushing in the bottom lane, and then 100 Thieves just took a fight around the Baron side, and they won it. It really was not very close, and it was so uncharacteristic to how we usually see Cloud9 play. Now, it starts with Meteos. Look at how Meteos plays, right? He's baiting. He's like, oh, yeah, I'm very weak. Psych! Jumps back in. The rest of the team re-engages, and then Azir comes from the flank. So immediately the carries are in a panic. So much of the initial damage went on the tanks, and that just got really tough for the rest of the team.
And we'll see if Cloud9 can sort of get their mojo back here a little bit today. You're talking about how, you know, one fight can change the game. Well, we saw that last game with TSM and 100 Thieves going up against each other. 100 Thieves looking so good for so long, but then just a couple big mistakes, and TSM comes back to take the win. But FlyQuest will definitely have their work cut out for them here going up against this Cloud9 squad.
I think that FlyQuest underdogs here, but they have had some strats that can pay off. It was the Kog'Maw in the mid lane for triple that looked really good in one of their wins, where he just gets to farm up, and then suddenly you've got a Kog'Maw that got a few kills, and he's just unstoppable. I mean, watch what the Kog'Maw does. This is only him at level 9, but as you can start to farm up and not die, this is an absolute menace into the later stages of the game. I think this is actually one of the more powerful fights that we had to see from him, where he just gets to chill back, right, level 11, already 2 points in the ultimate, and then even at the end, tries to take out Fake God in a 1-on-2 situation, and this final kill comes at the cost of his passive, which is always so exciting to see. Oh no!
Oh, are we really not
going
to see it? Come on! Oh. Show me the Cutie Pie Kog'Maw special.
Okay, he dies. I'll spoil it. Okay. He dies. The Kog'Maw gets the kill.
I was a little bit worried there for a second. I really enjoy watching people get blown up by Kog'Maw's passive, because I think it's funny that, like, when you look at this is a bit of a tangent, but I don't care. When you look at some of the passives of newer champions, how you have, like, Aphelios has 5 different guns. Each gun functions a different way and enables his Q to function in a different manner from the other 4 guns. The guns cycle off at this rate. You put the guns away and have the bullets. And you look at Kog'Maw's, it goes, he blows up when he dies. The complexity of champions between, like, Season 2 and Season 10 is pretty incredible. And I still do get a kick out of some of these goofy older passives, like Kog'Maw exploding. But even if his passive is mostly useless, you still get some of those cool moments with
Wait till you hear about Udyr, how if you get Cloud Soul on Udyr, you don't actually get anything. It's just coals for Christmas for Udyr. Like, what did I get? Guys, we all got something. Like, no, not for you.
It's like, well, yeah. All right, everybody who gets something from Cloud Soul, raise your hand. Not you, Udyr. Put your hand back down.
I mean, it gets a little bit from the early stacks, but the soul, it just hurts to see. Or Mundo, right? What's the Mundo passive? Regenerates health. That's it. That's the end of the passive.
Baby. You got to keep it simple sometimes.
It makes the game easy for a lot of new players to come into, like, too much to read here. Like, what's an easy one? It's like, okay, I could definitely get behind that, because that's one of the things I miss about those super simple champions, like the old school Sion, point, click, stun, shield, hit people with your hammer. Like, okay,
dude, old Sion was so silly. I remember that champion because you only put points in 2 abilities, and once you hit level 11, you actually kind of felt bad because you already used the 10 points that actually matter in your shield and your eyeball laser.
It's not true, though. There was a...
Oh, it wasn't? Okay.
Remember, have you ever seen the attack speed Sion, that you would go full attack speed and crit, because your ultimate also gave you lifesteal and attack speed? So you would just pop ult and just hack away at people, and somehow it also worked. But they were just as silly of a build. There was really no skill behind them besides farm, press, point and click buttons, and hope to kill people.
All right, enough walking down memory lane. Let's jump into
Karthus. Hello.
Dude, I absolutely, I've talked about this with some people before. I hate Karthus jungle so much. I actually love Karthus in lanes. I think he's cool because you have to aim the Skittles at people and be able to hit them. But Karthus jungle is the most silliness in the jungle I have ever seen in my life. All he does is walk around, he puts on his Farmville hat and just says time to CS for 35 minutes and press R every time one of my teammates spam pings me. Like, Karthus jungle should never exist in League of Legends. Every time he gets banned, I'm happy just because it removes the chance I could see him in the jungle. So that champion is whack.
He got buffed on 10.14, but jungle Karthus got nerfed. So jungle Karthus is still viable because just he was that strong in the first place. But the champion did get buffed, his movement speed, his health, the damage on Q. It's just that there's an even higher damage reduction to monsters. So that's what kind of hurts. But Fnatic loves to play this champion, and he's getting targeted because he's so important in a lot of FlyQuest's wins.
All right, the bans have gone through the first 6. So you've got Karthus, Olaf, Ashe, and Kalista, Volibear, Twisted Fate all banned away. Let's see who the first... Why did I even ask? Why?
Again.
Why did I even ask?
Yep, he's back. He's 2-for-0 so far, so it's no surprise why people have such a high priority on this pick. Pairs well with pretty much every single support, super safe, can take TP. The list goes on, but maybe MASH will give us something different for the bottom lane because there's been a lot of variety showing up in the bottom lane, and some of it comes down to the Senna that allows you to play whatever you really want down there, but this is likely to be a Kai'Sa and Nautilus combination. It's one of the very best in eliminating Ezreal from a team fight. You both press R, and he usually just dies right away because Kai'Sa is so good at bursting people down. Instead, they'll wait on that Nautilus. It could be set support, but it's also a flex on red side, so it'll likely get taken all the way to the end.
I do love seeing red side take advantage of flex picks. That has been a problem we've historically had here, particularly in North America, is red side not using the draft advantage of flex picks to secure some big lead in the draft for your last pick. Take advantage of the fact that you can see all 5 enemy champions before locking in that last pick of your own. Let's see what they decide to do here as the Galio is picked up for Cloud9 Academy. All right, some powerful disengage potential, some front lining. What else is it going to be here?
Ooh, okay, so I'm going to theorize here that you want something that goes in. So first of all, the Kazakhs, we've already seen it. This is pretty decent with the Galio, but Fudge loves to play that Camille. I don't know why that took so long to think about that.
I was gonna say, are we just looking for champions that have the cost?
No. So Camille, right? Fudge loves to play. But there's already 2 champions with Ka, right? I was like, Kai'Sa, Kazakhs, like what's the name? Oh, Camille, right? Camille. So Camille with Galio, super strong, and that's why it gets banned away. We already saw that 100 Thieves beat the main Cloud9 with the Camille Galio combination. It used to be really strong when Camille was in the jungle, just as viable when Camille is in the top lane. So like to see it getting taken out. Let's see what else Fudge has in store for us. But the Nautilus Kai'Sa combination is what we have for sure. So we can already start to figure out where this set is going. But the thing is, Flowers, people have continued to play Set in every single role right now. Like, I kid you not, Set is played top. He's played jungle, he's played mid, he's played as an AD with the Senna, and he's played as support with other picks as well. So this is the ultimate flex in the game right now.
Well, the second part of the bans are going through. It's Azir, Gangplank, and Camille all banned out. So they particularly don't want to be dealing with some of that power because it does create one of those dunk bucket situations similar to what a Jarvan does. If Camille traps you in the Hextech ultimatum and then Galio decides it's time to make his entrance, you're not going to have a good time. So I really do like that ban from FlyQuest Academy, as C9 Academy are the mid lane fun enforcers. They are making sure that something fun has to be played mid. They are getting rid of Corki. They are getting rid of Azir. No Resident Sleeper picks. No farming it up till 4 items. They want FlyQuest to play something fun. What will FlyQuest choose here? Very likely they could also leave their mid laner up for the last pick. There we go. Wukong locked in for FlyQuest.
Ooh, okay. So again, there's more confusion thrown our way, and this is also affecting Cloud9 because Wukong can be flexed in jungle and top as well. Same thing with the set. So C9 has to play it super cautiously here. Love to see the Ornn. Makes a lot of sense when you're playing Kha'Zix. When you have these carry junglers, you think of Kha'Zix in the same way that you want to have a Graves. You want to have lanes that have setup. You want to have tank lanes that can also face check for you and set you up. But more importantly, you want to make sure that you can actually win fights later into the game, because you are weak early as a Kha'Zix. You want to have a lot of assistance, and this is just putting Inori on an absolute pedestal. You could not get a better Kha'Zix composition than this, so it is going to be up to him to deliver, because anytime you have a jungler with a Galio, if he's not hunting down the enemy jungler, you're just wasting a mid pick.
Look at all of this engage power for Cloud9 Academy. This is just a big old meatball pasta waiting to get thrown right into the mix every single team fight, with Ornn and Galio and Leona all working together. What does the final pick of FlyQuest Academy end up being? Ooh! Kassadin! We got another Ka champion showing up here, Mr. Crumbs, and he's going up against this squad that they believe, for the side of FlyQuest, they can scale up, get him to that level 16 point, and just absolutely destroy the game.
It's kind of the same idea that they had with the Kog'Maw, where you just try to scale up and be relevant later in the game, but against a lot of tanks, Kassadin will need quite a bit of help here. So this is FlyQuest just saying, you want to scale? We want to scale as well, but Cloud9 has a lot more options to deal with the Kassadin. There's a ton of CC, which Kassadin hates, and Kha'Zix can just burst you before you actually get 2 Rift Walks out in a fight. So it is going to be really tricky for Triple to maneuver around this, but if he gets rolling, we've all seen what Kassadin can do.
With each team having one of those exciting assassin-type champions, this is a game that I'm looking forward to see how it shakes out between those two in particular. The Kha'Zix we got to see in the first game of the day unfortunately didn't pop off too hard. Maybe we'll see a different situation spelled out here, particularly, like I said, with all these engage tools, with all these mechanisms that both teams have to just get in there and get things off to a good start. I don't think we should be hard-pressed for any situation where we're just sort of waiting for somebody to make a misplay. Both these teams have what it takes to just say, all right, we're going in.
Absolutely, and that's what we love to see in Academy. We want to see teams be able to have win conditions that can just say, time to fight, all right, press fight, how did it go? And they've got it. You've got Nautilus, you got Leona, you got the Ornn, you've got the Wukong, you got the set. Tons of fights will happen today.
Nautilus, too, being able to set up all those plays, not only in the lane with his Kai'Sa, but also to make it so Kassadin can get in there and clean up those picks afterwards. Should be a very fun game here to see between the two squads as they're getting ready to go head-to-head at a 4-6 versus 6-4 win-loss record comparison. So that means that this could mean a lot for either squad, depending on who grabs the win. We're going to go ahead and make another delay, but we will catch you back here right afterwards for the game from the very start, right after this. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We have already seen Champion Select, and now that we have gotten ourselves through that little 3-minute break, competitive integrity has been maintained, and we're just about to jump into this matchup between Cloud9 Academy and FlyQuest Academy, where one side features Kha'Zix, the other side features Kassadin, and both teams have plenty of engage tools.
I love me some competitive integrity, Flowers. And it looks like both teams have done a little bit of a gentleman's handshake with picking a ton of scaling focus, where you have the Kassadin, like you mentioned, against the Ornn-style composition with the Ezreal as well as the Kha'Zix. But the big emphasis for Cloud9 this early game is going to be around Galio Kha'Zix. Can these two find a way into the enemy's jungle and just start raining on the FlyQuest parade? Because you cannot fight that 2v2. You just cannot. The Kha'Zix will be able to isolate you, and in his stealth, then suddenly comes the Galio ultimate falling down upon you, and it becomes really tough to get him out of the jungle. So a lot of Kha'Zix's playstyle does revolve around being aggressively invading, and you don't need an Ignite for that. You can just have your regular old Flash, and it'll be just as good.
Flash can do just fine to make sure you're facilitating making those big plays as the game moves forward. And then once we get to the team fights, we also know that they've got a Leona that can go in. Galio can ult in on top of that as well. Ezreal can also be protected by the Galio as we move forward. And one thing that I've also noticed, ever since the Chicken Bucket Galio came out, I don't remember the actual name, but I call him Chicken Bucket. Ever since he came out, I don't think I have seen a single other Galio skin in a competitive game that I remember.
Oh, it's the best one.
Yeah, like, he's just always throwing buckets of chicken. It's not even a whirlwind to me canonically anymore. It's just a bucket of chicken. As Tomo tries to walk himself away and Mash gets a ton of damage, Tomo's down to 200 HP. Mash flashing forward. One more auto would do it, but he does not get the shot. Mash nearly solo killing his opponent at level 1.
Ooh, kind of sucks that he doesn't get that, because the trade now is just even. Both don't have Flash, and one is a Kai'Sa, the other one is an Ezreal. So it's probably going to be easier to punish the Kai'Sa than it is for the Ezreal. So we'll see how it plays out in the laning phase, but at least Mash has Cleanse to deal with Leona's potential engage, although Leona typically looks for the Nautilus in the laning phase, or even later. It's just an easy target to pick off. But both junglers starting in the top side means that they'll likely find their first path towards the bottom side and maybe try to punish the marksman that had a level 1 Ultra Boost.
And as I'm looking at everything in the state of the game here, let's go ahead and assess number of Summoner's spellbooks, and I'm going to make sure I individually check each one so I don't misspeak this time. 1. Palafox is the only spellbook in the game. When you look at the teleports available, it is 2 on the side of FlyQuest, 3 on the side of Cloud9. Now, since one of those teleports is on Palafox, who also has a spellbook, it's not like you're going to see a surprise teleport coming out of anywhere, but that will be extra map play advantage to the side of C9 because of that TP edge. Mash opting to go for Cleanse on the AD carry position, wants to prevent some of that CC lockdown potential from both Diamond and Fudge as the game moves forward. So everything else seeming pretty much par for the course. Conqueror on your Ezreal, Aftershock on both supports. Fleet footwork on Kassadin to keep him nice and healthy during the laning phase, and Inori and Fnatic both using those phase rush keystones on their champions to make sure they stay caught up when they look for these kills.
That's the big difference with Kha'Zix. I don't think before 10-14 anybody was experimenting with phase rush. You usually would see the Electrocute, a Dark Harvest, sometimes you'd even go as far as Conqueror, right? It was all about damage. But now, with the phase rush, and you can go with a blue smite, you're really hitting that instantly, and it just means that your stealth moves are so unpredictable. You just pop that and suddenly the enemy has no idea where you're at, and it's so easy to get a 1v1. And speaking of 1v1, Revenge is in some trouble.
Fudge is just going in here for the straight up fight. But Revenge is turning it back around. Wukong gets an attack speed steroid when he charges in and just bonks him to death.
He popped the Conqueror. That was what made him so tanky there. He started healing right back up, and Fudge went a little bit greedy, thinking he had the opportunity to go for it instead of waiting the cooldown out on the W, and Revenge turns things around, and this is a great start for this. So let's see how it all plays out, because it looked really good from the start. Doesn't actually hit the first W, so he doesn't have it, and so this could have been an opportunity to just wait it out, considering that the W was down. That was, I think, the big thing there. And even if that second Bellows Breath would have connected on Revenge, the animation would not have given Fudge enough time to auto it. So once the commitment happened and Revenge procced the Conqueror, he was going to win that fight.
Between Conqueror healing and the League of Legends Wukong default passive bonus, this guy just has so much extra regeneration. I specifically pulled it up on my alternate monitor just to look at it here. 0.5% of maximum health per 5 seconds, basic. So your default, like without any stacks. Increased by 50% whenever he damages a champion. We got a 2v2 here in the bottom lane. Big taking a lot of damage. Diamond disengaging now. That trade is going to favor Cloud9 here at the start. These bonuses stack up to 10 times. So it's 500% of the base value. So Wukong can get quite a lot of extra maximum health regeneration just from getting into a fight, staying there for a long time, getting extra hits on his opponent. And you saw his health bar just coming back up so quickly after that fight.
Sounds like a lot of baloney that one champion shouldn't have all that power. Can we give some of that power to another champion? Give half of Wukong.
Give it to another champion.
Over to somebody else.
Oh my goodness. Trying to hand off the power of Wukong to some. You want to give it to Udyr to make up for the fact that he doesn't have a
he'd be busted.
bonus?
He'd be straight busted. Actually, what champion could you not give that passive to and say this champion might be broken now? Because I think a lot would really love to have that.
Okay. Wait, what about this, Krux? Think about this, because you pointed this out earlier when we were talking about comparisons of modern-day passives to prehistoric passives. Mundo's passive is I regenerate health.
Yeah.
Wukong's passive is I regenerate health and also get stacking armor and more regeneration health as I stay in combat for an increasing period of time. Wukong's passive is just Mundo's passive graduated.
Oh no! What are you saying about Mundo's passive?
I'm saying even though his name's Dr. Mundo, I doubt the legitimacy of his degree, as Fudge is in some trouble yet again. Revenge putting him into the blender and giving him the bonk upside the head. Easy breezy one.
Oh, big wave pushing back against Fudge. He would have needed that one to hit level 6 and maybe could have survived had he had that other level, but now the Wukong is starting to snowball, and this is the last thing Cloud9 would have wanted to happen, because yes, you've got a Kassadin to worry about, but the Wukong can actually shred through these tanks. The Wukong holding a pressure point against Ornn makes it really difficult for Cloud9 to now have an Ornn that can rotate and facilitate the Kha'Zix in entering the jungle. So if Revenge can keep this up and start translating this advantage to other sides of the map, they're going to have a much easier time in these fights because, well, Wukong doesn't really care that you're a tank. He also shreds armor.
And you saw for a second there, he actually bought the Phage, but then decided against it, undid his purchase, and went for the Tiamat to make sure that he doesn't just end up conceding control of the top side just because he can't push the waves. Fnatic is clearing out his red, and if Fudge stays pushed up, That's an Ornn without a flash, so he might be vulnerable to yet another play, but it doesn't look like FlyQuest want to go for that right now. Fnatic does want to head back to base, get some shopping done, pick up the Bomb Cinder and a control ward. Honestly, though, Wukong couldn't ask for a much better start, man. 2-0, feeling good on the carry-type champion going up against the tank-type champion in the lane matchup. FlyQuest already with a greater than 1,000 gold lead compared to their opponents. That's good stuff.
Yeah, and Fnatic, had he gone back up, it would have felt like you're getting diminishing returns and trying to take down the Ornn. Yeah, he's dying a bunch, but you know what Ornn can do. Unless he's up against something like a Fiora or a split pusher that can legitimately tower dive him, he's going to always be able to hold his own. So punishing him doesn't stop him from doing his job later into the game if you don't have the right champion to do it with. So I like that he just chooses to back off and maybe looks for more of an objective focus, because C9, even though they have been losing these early kills, were able to get that first Drake on the map. The Kha'Zix, level 6, Evolved Claws can easily secure that, and they are going to be on track to get some more of these if FlyQuest continues to think about ganking lanes and not prioritizing these objectives. Herald is up, Fnatic is nice, he's trying to sneak it on the backside.
Two-shot barrage onto Big, but when both these supports have Aftershock, they kind of just walk at each other, punch each other over and over again, but it's more of a slap fight than an actual brawl, and nobody really feels too bad about the outcome. Palafox just flying in there thanks to the Nimbus Cloak, giving him so much speed after he uses the teleport to arrive. Grabs a very slight amount of damage onto Triple, but not really enough to pressure this Kassadin into feeling any sort of fear here. I mean, yeah, Kassadin's one wave behind in mid lane, but you expect Kassadin to have a little bit of a rough time early on as Nori looks for the dive here bottom side. Chain CC coming down. Diamond ends up walking away with the kill, but the important part, is that Cloud9 gets their man, they walk away, and nobody pays the price.
Look at the timing of that dive, because that wave that was crashing was what was going to get FlyQuest's bottom lane to level 6. Mash hit 6, but Big did not, and that was a big deal. Leona at 6 versus Nautilus is a lot stronger in picking him off, and so that's what they did. They just went onto the Nautilus. He couldn't hit that extra level to potentially lock down somebody under the turret, and it almost looked like Inori wasn't necessary, which moving forward, he won't be. Ezreal will just stack his ultimate on, and if the Nautilus is CC'd right away, he doesn't get to proc the aftershock.
Once again, the 1v1 between Revenge and Fudge. Revenge trying to get himself away from that one. As soon as he sees that Galio ulti coming in, he respects it and flashes away.
Oh, but FlyQuest has a response, though. They're trying to put some more gold into the Kassadin. This is not a play for the turret by any means. It's just saying, can we get some more gold onto the triple? And if you can free up Kassadin's lane sooner rather than later, well, you can start roaming around the map and make Galio's ultimate look like a cheap toy. The ability for Kassadin to roam, once you hit level 11 especially, is just unmatched. And we all know what 16 means. It's just not even roaming, it's just death. Roaming death.
Yeah. Level 6 is your I don't have to die to every gank level. Level 11 is your I'm a real champion now level. And level 16 is how is this legal level. As Big finds himself in a pretty rough spot, and Nori going after the damage. Taunt coming in from Palafox. Big barely staying alive, but now he finally drops. Palafox in the middle of 3, trying to buy enough time for Fudge to show up. Triple jumping right back in. Haymaker comes through, but the damage is not enough. Triple still surviving in this one. Cloud9 managed to get Palafox out alive, and they still get their kill onto Big. Now moving everybody over, using those claws on the Kha'Zix to rip this Drake down, and that is a 2-0 Drake lead. And look at that, Crumbs, we get another peaceful rift. Feel the happiness, ladies and gentlemen. This is good vibes.
This happiness feels lopsided, Flowers. I don't think Big is feeling anything but the cold grave of the gray screen, since the level 6 Leona keeps picking him off. And it's what I said earlier in the dive. If Leona gets to jump on the Nautilus, Nautilus doesn't have enough time to get his Aftershock proc. So he just gets popped right away. You can forget about anything tanky that he has. He's only gotten the Merc Rest, but clearly it wasn't even enough for him to stay alive from that point. And that fight was around the objective, which is what Cloud9 has prioritized as one of their strengths this split. It's that despite the madness that happens in the game, they'll tend to keep a level head around securing these dragons. Now, they weren't able to get that Herald because they were losing the top side, but they were still able to focus on the dregs. And with a dragon Ocean Soul that is the strongest Drake in the game, well, that focus is going to be paid in full and more.
FlyQuest, FlyQuest, FlyQuest. Got to find a way to stop these Drakes from stacking up, boys. Can't be letting Cloud9 get away with a 22-minute Ocean Soul. That is for certain. And Nori with the Warrior completed, and look at the inventory. You can see the Ruby Crystal right now. That lends me to believe he will probably be going towards the Black Cleaver build like what we saw in the previous game, as opposed to just going straight lethality as you do often see from your solo queue Kha'Zixes. Makes him a little bit more tanky, makes him more effective against tanky targets as well. Revenge working towards that Trinity Force here on the Wukong. Still just maintaining a slight farm lead in the top lane, but as Fudge begins to accumulate more and more armor, as he inches ever more close to that completed Sunfire Cape, it's going to be harder and harder for Wukong to give him the bonk as Fnatic gets over the wall there with the X-Men.
So one of the best things about Kha'Zix with the Black Cleaver is that your second evolution tends to be your Void Spikes. So Void Spikes evolved, huge, slow, great for poking in a team fight right before it. And if you can have a Black Cleaver, you actually get to soften up a lot of targets at the same time, which gets a ton more value. There's really not many champions that can really benefit quite as much from just decreasing the armor of so many people at once. So if he can hit level 11 before this dragon, which actually doesn't seem quite likely, but when he hits level 11, he'll be able to actually set up a lot of the poke for Tomo to deal a little bit more damage. And we know what happens when the Ezreal hits that 2-item spike. And if you're dealing with targets that have low armor, a few of those Qs just takes you out of the fight, and you can secure those objectives without ever looking for a team fight.
Man, Palafox is farming up a storm. What in the world is going on here in mid lane? He's got 160 farm, 14 minutes into the game. The next closest person is his own lane opponent, who's 24 under him. This Galio is just throwing buckets of chicken at everything. And now he's going to grab himself another Scuttle Crab, 126 more gold in the pocket. And you can see he's got 5,800. The only person in the game with a greater net worth than him would be that Wukong, who already has 2 kills under his belt.
It's the 11 CS per minute mark. So everybody loves to talk about the 10 CS per minute as a benchmark for doing quite well. But 11 is when you're doing really well. So it seems like right now a lot of players have really taken an eye to some of the players in the LPL or LCK that are able to consistently hit those numbers. And they don't just happen from sticking around in the lane. They actually happen from being able to rotate across the map and find different places to farm. But they have found Fudge, who has to flash out and look for a re-engage.
Cloud9 coming back with a vengeance. Palafox goes in for the taunt, able to find a lot of damage down into Mash, but not enough to kill him off. The Ona CC coming through, and Mash is gone. Revenge looking to spin himself away, but he is down. Big tries to walk out of this one as Fudge and Tomo are in hot pursuit. There comes your Volcanic Rupture, there goes your Ezreal, and there goes FlyQuest chances at a team fight. Cloud9 mop them up.
When so much of the CC gets used on the Ornn and he doesn't die, you know you have put yourself in a precarious position, because C9 just instantly re-engaged and went onto Mash, who didn't stand a chance, honestly. The Kha'Zix and Galio were just able to shred him, and once he flashed out, well, Kha'Zix would just follow him and also got to take the monkey on the way out too. So they are just doing so well and got objectives. They get the dragon, and this Herald is likely to be popped in the mid lane right now from Inori. Let's see what he goes for it, because the dragon is up as well. So if they can get some turrets down right before it, they'll pressure FlyQuest even more. Looks like they're just going to try to rush it.
That Proto Belt plus Q combo from Palafox is so effective at just instantly nuking those waves down, making it so Triple is stuck farming those up, guaranteeing Cloud9 priority, and guaranteeing Cloud9 a position at Soul Point now. Every single Drake must be contested by FlyQuest, or you give over the most powerful Drake buff in the, okay, well not, okay, fine. Drake's Soul, I can't say it's the most powerful Drake buff. I have to be more specific. Elder is pretty ridiculous. But the most powerful soul in the game will be given over if FlyQuest concedes even another one of these Drakes this game. Even though we're only 1,000 gold apart, that kind of pressure means so much for us.
It means so much, but it's also really tough for them to get anything going right now. Thinori does get spotted, so he's just going to recall real quick, but look at the items. There's a ton of armor already on the side of a C9. And the only real magic damage threat that they're going to have is the Kassadin, who isn't online yet. So this means that C9 is going to be really strong for this next fight, or until Kassadin gets to be a legitimate threat. His row is not fully stacked. He doesn't even have the Seraph's Embrace completed. So this itemization only makes them stronger at this time, which means that the weakness and the scaling part that FlyQuest is relying upon will have to come in and do double duty, but it just cannot. It's not ready yet. It's not out of the oven. It's not cooked. You can't just take it out and say, oh, I can serve this up. It's like, no, you need to put it in there. It's got to stay in there a little bit longer. And so now FlyQuest is likely to concede the soul or just lose the fight from the flat-out itemization that they are facing.
Kassadin ain't no cookie dough, man. You can't just eat it raw and think that it's going to end up as a good snack anyway. You got to make sure the dude is fully cooked, otherwise your team is going to have a real bad time. And
isn't that a good snack, though? Raw cookie dough?
That's why I said he ain't that.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. Kassadin's more like chicken. And
oh, don't take that out.
If you don't cook the chicken well enough, you're going to end up with some food poisoning. And that is not what FlyQuest is looking for here in this game today. They're only down 1,500 gold, so things aren't completely out of reach here just yet. Fudge is still 2 levels away from 13 and those big Ornn item upgrades. So considering they still only have 2.5 more minutes until the Drake shows up, Fly might be able to get themselves a fight before Ornn items come in terms of stopping this next Drake from meaning Soul. Now Cloud9 are working to use the Rift Herald up here in the top lane to grab themselves another turret. This will be the 3rd and final outer turret for them to collect. One punch from Palafox will do that one in. More gold under his belt. And they'll try to walk Shelly up here. And Nori shadowing. Diamond also hanging out nearby here on the Leona, clearing out some vision. Facebreaker from Fnatic does all of about 6 damage. And Shelly gets her charge off and is immediately killed.
This is such an impressive game out of Palafox. The farming numbers are really making a strong case for him being the player of the game on this one, because Kassadin is a free lane, so you should be able to do something about it. Now, whether that means you're roaming and affecting the map that way or just being able to out-CS him, you need to get an advantage over Kassadin, or else you have failed laning against him, and he's definitely got one. Not just in farm, but look at the kill participation that he has. He's just been running Kassadin around in circles, and even when Kassadin gets to come online, he'll find himself at an item disadvantage and behind in CS, which is not common. Like, usually the Kassadins can farm a bit better, but he's not doing poorly. It's just that Palafox is doing so much better.
Palafox with the Zhonya's Hourglass now completed means he can throw himself into the middle of all of this completely haphazardly without a care in the world, instantly go into the stasis and just buy time for his boys to do what they need to do. 60 seconds until that Ocean Soul becomes a possibility here for the Cloud9 Academy guys, as MASH will clear out the last of the wave here in mid. Big hanging out nearby just to make sure Cloud9 can't jump on him here yet again. And FlyQuest have control over the bottom river right now, Crumbs. They are first to the show.
They're first to the show, but the curtains are still down. There is no dragon yet for another 40 seconds, so Cloud9 has a great opportunity to take control of mid. You've got the Ezreal with the double item spike, has the mirror mana before MASH, and has the red buff, so he's really tough to take down or even contest in this wave right now. So he gets to push in, go into the river, whereas Kai'Sa has to sit back and farm this right now. So yes, you had earlier control, but now you've fallen back and you're getting engaged from the back. FlyQuest is just going to lose big right here.
Big tries to get away, but meanwhile on the back end of the fight, it's Tomo who's in some trouble. Revenge over the wall there with the flash, putting him into the blender. Will it blend? Yes, it will. Revenge gets himself a kill, but Fudge takes him out of the picture in retaliation. Cloud9 still with full HP bars on everybody. Fudge taking the chance to upgrade an item as he hits level 13, but Fudge is off there playing Legos in the background, and Inori almost gets 100 to 0. Now FlyQuest is still trying to fight here in the river, but Cloud9 is very, very powerful and very, very tanky. Rockets coming over the wall to make sure they're staying slowed. And there you go, ladies and gentlemen, Ocean Soul, Cloud9 Academy.
Great emote usage there too, hitting them with the game over. It certainly is over for the Dragons at least. Now C9 saw the opportunity to engage on the flip side. It was good for FlyQuest to try to answer, but you saw how tanky Tomo is right now. It's what we were covering earlier. The itemization at this point means that the physical damage is going to have such a hard time melting through the Cloud9 backline, so they had to flash in and commit so darn much, and even then Inori gets to jump in, be the squishiest member of C9, and still survive because Triple doesn't have quite enough damage yet. Now they're going to lose Soul, they're going to lose Baron, and the gold lead is just about to take off.
Well, that's enough for me to believe that this one's 99% out of the reach of FlyQuest. Let's take another look at how they tried this fight. I mean, they had some good moves getting onto Tomo at the start, but after that, it was tragedy.
The big thing was that Ezreal gets a cut in here, whereas Kai'Sa's not here yet. So it's so easy for C9 to haphazardly engage here, knowing that not much is going to happen. Like, Kai'Sa doesn't get to be right there next to the Wukong engaging onto the Ezreal. She has to come all the way around after taking that wave, and so it's all pretty much a 2v4 at the very start, and then Inori's like, okay, well, maybe I could burst down big right away. And look at this. If if Triple had just a tiny bit more damage, you actually get to take out the Kha'Zix right away, and maybe there is some hope in this fight, but notice how much damage Kai'Sa does. Do you see the health bars dropping? They do not. They actually stay the
They
same
don't
health.
move.
It's an optical illusion.
And remember, when you're behind against a team that's full of meatballs, having meatballs with Ocean Soul is just like the most fancy pasta on the menu with all the best sauce right there with it. The Ocean Soul is the sauce, and that's what Cloud9 has now. Nothing but sauce on this team, as they cannot be killed as long as they're doing some damage. How are you going to get through a Leona with a Gargoyle Stone Plate and her W up? How are you going to deal with double enchanted Ornn items Ornn? And how in the world, Crumbs, are you going to deal with Palafox now that he's got 10 pages in the BM book and he's working on his Leandries? Diamond's going in here in the mid lane. Here comes the Galio with your Wombo combo, and Nori goes on a killing spree, and Fnatic is out of the picture. Let's see what else Cloud9 can do here in the mid lane with the Baron buff minions pushing up. Fudge maintaining the split push here in the bottom lane. It looks like Cloud9 is looking to run this one home right here, right now.
They get a few picks here. They can also end it. They actually taunt revenge. They're like, oh, I could take a little bit of damage, and the turret says Fudge, and he gets the flash out. But here, this re-engage is deadly for C9.
Or not, because Ocean Soul is a hell of a drug. Big is the next one to fall, and Inori continues the rampage he has been on with this Kha'Zix all game long. Much more success we're seeing on this champion here in the third game of the day. Cloud9 using it right, using it well, and taking 2 inhibitors away from FlyQuest Academy.
Oh, that is definitely check with checkmate right around the corner. They just have to base, group up. You don't need that Elder Dragon to end this one. They can just march right on through. The Soul is enough. And if it wasn't enough of an advantage already, the first Ornn upgrade is coming through now, so it gets even tougher for FlyQuest. Kassadin is nowhere near level 16, and if he did, he wouldn't have enough damage to actually mow through these guys, because guess what? They have the Soul. You actually need healing reduction now, so your itemization is like, okay, I'm behind in my items, and now they're piling up as well. So you had homework long due, you show up to class, and then they tell you, hey, you actually have more homework now, and they just piling up, and you're like, is it time for me to rethink my career?
Is it time to just, Jesus, take the wheel, no more homework, let's see what my grade ends up like.
That was my university experience. Sure. That is from the heart.
Captain Flowers and Crumbs in no way endorse skipping your homework. Please do your homework and everything your teachers say and be good kids. Thank you very much. Back to the game now. FlyQuest trying to hold on underneath their last remaining Tier 3 turret, but Cloud9 are not going to allow them to hang on long. Fudge here on the front line yet again. The volcanic pillar coming through. The slows from that enchanted, that evolved Kha'Zix W are just so much. Those pin missiles are so effective at keeping these guys at a distance where they can't engage effectively. Diamond tries to go in. They're looking for the kill onto Triple here at the very start. He uses the stasis to keep himself alive. The Ornhorn goes through and Revenge is out of the picture. It's a 1-for-1. Zenori has finally died. Galio goes up into the air, but the slam will find nothing. Doesn't matter. Fight still victorious for Cloud9 Academy as they take down the remaining inhibitor and move on to the Nexus turrets. It's a 4v4 on the map. Although FlyQuest went back to go to their base to heal, it's Cloud9 that are also still at full thanks to the Ocean Soul. Big likely going to drop here again. Tomo's taken down. Big still alive. Fudge having to walk away. And there's your shutdown onto the Galio 2. And against all odds, FlyQuest are somehow keeping this ship above water.
Wow.
On water. It's floating on the water. It's not below the water right now, even though these dudes are out in the middle of the ocean.
It's really cold water, and there's sharks around, but they're still holding on to something that is solid. So it's pretty impressive there that they actually held on. I wonder what happened to Tomo there. If I'm not mistaken, I believe he shifted in at the end of that fight, but this could mean that FlyQuest actually gets to take this in this Elder Dragon, which there is a Kha'Zix around, so there is an opportunity for a steal, but this is a level 16 Cassidy now. They have a control ward in the back. This is FlyQuest's last hope, but look at the base. Ezreal, did he TP in and try to end it?
Yeah, Ezreal TP'd in. Ezreal TP'd in for the cheeky game ender, as Revenge tries to stop him here, but Tomo's just going forward, sticking around his super minions to make sure he has extra help to win the fight. Takes off half the HP from Revenge there immediately, grabbing the kill onto the Wukong. He'll make it a 1-for-1 even though he dies. Mash gets himself away, but the damage from the minions is enough to take the FlyQuest AD carry out of the picture. FlyQuest now trying to find the damage onto Fudge, keep Fnatic alive before Fudge manages to find the kill. Galio enters into the fight, and now all of a sudden level 16 Kassadin is not feeling nearly as scary. Fudge just blasts him away with the power of the Elder Drake, and this should be it. It's Cloud9 Academy just standing by, letting the minions do the dirty work, making sure they bleed them out as slow as possible, and C9A take their win.
They looked as commanding as ever in this win. They just knew exactly what they needed to do when it came to the objective game. And even at the end, that was pretty cheeky. Although seeing the Ezreal somehow 1v2 the Kai'Sa and Wukong was a little suspicious. I'm like, huh, is this a marksman? Kind of looks like what a Jax does. And
yeah,
now we're not surprised to see that this pick was first picked all games today and won all 3.
Ezreal with a helicopter staff trying to 1v2 everybody and still winning. Pretty crazy stuff, but hey, Cloud9 made that game look pretty clean with that composition, and now we're going to take a quick break, and once we return, we'll be jumping into Game 4, Golden Guardians going up against Immortals. Don't go anywhere.